Imagine calling a salmon to the stand to face cross-examination, or reading a mosquito its Miranda rights before swatting it. When we ask whether animals should have the exact same rights as humans, we force a massive, complex moral dilemma into a simple yes or no checkbox. The moment we try to apply a strict legal framework built for humans to the rest of the animal kingdom, the logic fails. We are currently trapped in this false binary. To see why we need a better way to talk about animal welfare, we have to look at why the current debate is completely paralyzed. On one side, the idealists argue that extending rights to animals moves us toward a more compassionate civilization, one where we finally honor the intelligence, emotion, and dignity present across all sentient life. Then you run into the skeptics, who point out the technical reality of that ideal. Giving animals the same rights sounds noble until you try to execute it. A wolf isn't prosecuted for murder, and a flock of pigeons doesn't get to vote in the midterms. The core issue here is that our concept of rights was born from human reason and social reciprocity. It is poorly suited for beings who live by the laws of biology and instinct. We're trying to force a human legal tool to map onto creatures that operate by different laws of being. That leaves us with the pragmatists. They argue we should stop chasing identical rights and instead build enforceable protections, things like strict anti-cruelty laws and habitat preservation, and humane farming standards that actually change conditions on the ground. But right now, we are stuck. The conversation is caught in a tug-of-war between high-minded philosophical ideals on one end and logistical absurdities on the other. Those pushing for full animal rights often point to history. They remind us that every expansion of moral consideration, like ending serfdom or securing women's voting rights, was initially dismissed as absurd, but society always grows richer for the inclusion. But there is a distinct difference in that comparison. Those expansions worked because the marginalized groups could actually exercise and defend those newly recognized rights. Granting freedom of speech to a cow is theater, not justice. Human civil rights metaphors simply break down when applied to non-human biology. To make real progress, we must drop the word rights and find a more accurate tool. We need a tiered moral vocabulary. Instead of rights requiring reciprocal relationships, we shift the framework to duties we owe. We bear these duties because animals cannot claim protections themselves. The burden rests completely on us. Working systems are already beginning to function this way. The European Union, for example, has legally recognized animal sentience through this exact lens. We see measurable results in sweeping bans on cosmetic testing. These policies don't require rabbits to hire lawyers. They simply restrict what humans can do. By removing the demand for a two-way legal relationship and focusing strictly on human responsibility, we bypass the philosophical gridlock. Even within this new framework, some push for maximum ambition. We are seeing real legal movement to establish personhood for highly intelligent, charismatic mammals. Great apes, elephants, and cetaceans are being recognized as legal individuals, and the sky hasn't fallen. But this selective empathy reveals a massive blind spot. We will spend millions in court defending the dignity of a single wild dolphin, while simultaneously operating a massive industrial system that treats other species entirely as raw materials. Every single year, humans industrially process 70 billion chickens. The scale of that machinery stands in stark contrast to the individual protections we offer to the animals we happen to find endearing. Granting selective legal personhood to a handful of species doesn't actually create a universal baseline for animal welfare. It just exposes the contradictory nature of our own moral standards. Ultimately, the way we treat animals is less a question about their legal status and moral symmetry, and start legislating sufficiency. Strong welfare laws, honest consumer labeling, and actual ecological stewardship will do far more good than a philosophical tie in a courtroom. The original binary eventually gives way to a more sophisticated realization. While identical rights remain a legal friction point, the demand for identical moral seriousness is the common ground where these different perspectives finally meet. Whether we encode that seriousness through personhood, welfare law, or stewardship matters less than taking the first step. We have to stop treating the question as a thought experiment. because the animals themselves aren't waiting for us to finish arguing.